All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Steve with Real Progressives. Last night we saw an election go down where the establishment did what it does. And we saw a lot of people wringing their hands. We saw a lot of people weeping and gnashing of teeth. We saw voter rolls purged again. We saw all kinds of gibberish and nonsense happening. And all I could think about the entire time was, and did you think this was going to be different? Did you think that we were suddenly going to have some sort of a different setup? Is that what you thought? Did you really think that it was going to change? Well, here's the thing. The people aren't angry enough. They're just not angry enough. They haven't been angry enough this whole time. People talk a lot. They exit a lot. They got a lot of hashtags all over the place, but they're not really angry enough to take matters into their own hands. And when I say take matters into their own hands, see, I believe you should vote. I don't care whether the system's screwed up or not. I believe we should be voting, period. But I also believe we should know that our power doesn't lie in the electoral process right now, that our power really lies in populism, in the people understanding what's going on around them and being able to take direct action based on knowledge. Now, most people like to be like herd animals, and they like to travel with the pack, and they like to be with their friends, and they like to say things that are clever, want to brag about having a drink while they're watching the results come in and stuff like that. And hey, man, whatever floats your boat. It's not going to do anything, but whatever, right? But I want to talk to you about what I think is really the crux of our power. People don't really think a whole lot's going to change no matter who gets elected. And they're probably right. And I'll tell you why they're right. They're right because the people aren't demanding what could be their rightful, stuff, the things that we should have. And if you think about it, our Constitution allows us to do an awful lot of things. And yet the people settle for people like Cuomo. Who the hell actually casts a vote for Cuomo? Who chooses to vote for Hillary Clinton? Now, I'm not here to tell you that there aren't some good people that in the election chose to vote for Hillary, not Trump. I didn't do that. I voted for Jill, but that's neither here nor there. The thing I'm looking at is that when you have an option of a Nixon versus a Cuomo, what in the world would make you vote for an establishment hack that went out there doing all kinds of ridiculously disgusting things? Well, that's what we get, right? So the people aren't angry enough, and the reason for that is they don't believe anything's going to change. So I want to talk to you about some posts that Stephanie Kelton came out with today. These are the things, in my opinion, that make for the right strategy for us to get people pissed. I mean, really good and pissed. Because if you're not good and pissed, you're not going to take direct action. Now, for those of you who know, obviously I'm going to talk about economics, but the reason why I'm going to talk about economics is because the economic lies are the things that keep us from believing we can do anything more than that. That's why guys like Cuomo get elected. It's because the big blue machine has their blue sycophants thinking that, oh, it's going to take forever. We just have to vote blue. It doesn't matter what happens. We just have to vote blue. Don't listen to it and just vote blue. All right. But we're going to change that paradigm tonight just a little bit. Bobby Reich, obviously, is one of the fair-haired people that keeps getting all kinds of opportunities to screw us up. And I know Robert Reich is one of those guys that people like. He's a nice little guy. You want to rub him on the head like a little cherub, and maybe rub his tummy and let him draw some pictures on a white piece of paper somewhere. But the reality is Bobby Reich is a neoliberal. He was Clinton's advisor, labor secretary. And even though he says some nice things, he's still carrying the water for the establishment. Make no mistake about it. Here's what Kelton came out with. Let's see if you can see the difference. This right here was from today. And she said, if you're using phrases like exploding the deficit, piling on debt, blowing a hole in the budget, you're part of the problem. Well, how many of you all have heard people say this? Honestly, how many of you all have heard people that are very, very misinformed say this kind of garbage? And I want to explain to you why this is so silly. There's an old tweet, same people, different. And this is Warren Mosler saying the public debt is nothing more than the money spent by the government that haven't been used to pay taxes. Get that. The public debt is nothing more than the money spent by the government that haven't yet been used to pay taxes. They sit in the economy as cash and money in reserve accounts and securities accounts, treasury securities on the Fed's books. It functions as the net money supply. Do you get this? We're not talking about debt we owe to China. It's an accounting identity. And what Kelton says, imagine if an elected official explained this when asked about 20 trillion in debt. Imagine if people weren't misled by well-meaning progressives that are afraid to tell the truth. Imagine if progressives who won't step out and embrace what they can do and fight back outside this electoral sham that we're stuck in and force these sons of bitches to serve us. Imagine what would happen. Imagine the people standing up and knowing the truth and fighting back. And no, there's no money missing from the Pentagon. That was just so we're straight, Anthony, that's a great thing. It keeps coming up. Lee Campus hyped this fib. The reality is that it was audited and that money was just simply not actually processed properly. It's all been accounted for. They've done it over and over and over again. At one time there was missing 9 trillion. Another time it was missing this much. Reality is it's just accounting crap. It's out there. There's a place called Mega. Is it MetaBunk? I think it is, and I'll provide the link for that here after I'm done with this live stream. So I'm going to show you one more thing here real quickly, and this is really important. This right here is the national debt, and every time somebody who had really ridiculous notion about paying off the debt, each time they tried to do this, each time we had a major depression occur right on the heels of it. What do you think about that? When you hear people say, we got to pay off the debt, this debt crap has been used to keep the regular people down. It's like, if you don't behave, Santa's going to put a piece of coal in your stocking. This is what they do. And so every time some knucklehead thinks that they're going to go ahead and pay off the debt, what happens? They reset the economy. The little people jump out of buildings and end up committing suicide because of austerity. And then all of a sudden, the wealthy oligarchs come and sweep up all that excess labor that's laying around ready to hang themselves and get them on the cheap for pennies on the dollar. And then they reset. Instead of doing jubilee for debt, they go ahead and just crash the economy and keep us all begging for crumbs. Pretty nice, huh? Pretty nice setup. Well, this is truly what we are up against. And it really comes down to a system that if we don't understand it, we're going to keep going by beliefs. We're going to keep screwing around with beliefs instead of the truth. Now, for those of you all who are progressives that shame Christianity and shame people of religious values, I think it's probably almost as appropriate, if you find that to be disturbing, to shame those people that believe that federal taxes fund federal spending, because it's a belief, it's not the truth. And when you think about it like that, it should put you in a different mindset, because if you know that taxes literally don't fund these programs, then what the hell are we doing sitting there talking about, oh my God, we got to raise them? What do you think that? Why do you think that? I mean, I think that we need to really fight back and force them to serve our needs and stop celebrating and worshiping the rich. If we learn this stuff, guess what? We can render the rich irrelevant and we can start doing for ourselves. I think it's really important that we realize that some of this stuff is not things that we have to actually implement. It's actually already here. This is a description of the system that we have today. And cluing Congress in, as this thing right here says, really is an act of us making demands, pitchforks and torches in hand, quite frankly. Now, I'm going to take something and I'm going to show you this. And I hope that you all understand how important this is. Because one of the things that I find disturbing is the partisanship amongst all Greens, amongst all progressive Democrats, amongst all of us who relatively want similar things. I'm going to show you this. Democrats, Republicans, Greens, Socialists, all must learn this to be effective, or we will stay stuck. Taxes drive the currency. They maintain the value of the dollar because the country has the ability to tax. It's not the petrodollar. It's not chicken necks. It's not gold bullion. And it's not rich people. It's the ability of our government to tax is why the US dollar holds its value. Because guess what? You can't pay your taxes in Bitcoin. You cannot pay your taxes in gold bullion. You cannot pay your taxes in sexual favors. You can only pay your taxes in the state's currency, which is the US dollar. So think about that. So if taxes don't fund spending, repeat, federal taxes do not fund spending. How many of our fights with Republicans, how many fights with libertarians? Oh my God, libertarians and the taxes theft crap. How many of our fights with these people stop being relevant? And we're able to create massive coalitions once we destroy these myths and legends. These myths and legends are really what's destroying us. And I want you all to know something. This is the sad truth. A hungry stomach, an empty wallet, and a broken heart can teach you the most valuable lessons in life. The most valuable lessons in life, my friends. Because without having some understanding of what's at stake, people blow this economic stuff off. But let me ask you a question. If the rich are going to have money no matter what, and the middle class has money in fits and spurts, when we reduce federal spending, who do you think gets hurt? It's the poor. It's the people that are least able to handle it. It's the elderly. It's kids with special needs. It's all of our loved ones who are least able to afford a downturn in the economy. When we have automatic stabilizers, like a federal job guarantee, where everybody can avoid destitution, we start to put things on the right path. Well, the only way we're getting there, it's not from some messiah politician. I don't care how much you like Cynthia Nixon. Hell, I don't care how much you like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I don't care how much you like Bernie Sanders. At the end of the day, it's up to us, we the people, to make demands, to force even our allies' hands to serve our needs. If we choose to abdicate that responsibility, if we choose to ignore our right to protest, if we choose our rights and throw them out the window by just going and voting blue no matter who, if we continue to do the same stupid shit we've done each time, we're going to keep getting the same stupid shit we've always gotten every single time. I don't know if you understand how vital it is for us to start teaching one another these truths. Because if we don't, no one else will. Because these politicians are in the business of getting elected. They're not in the business of changing your mind and teaching you economics. And a politician doesn't have time to sit there and break down the fact that the United States government is monetarily sovereign, just like Japan, just like Australia, just like the UK. A politician doesn't have time to break down the fact that the United States government is a currency issuer. A politician doesn't have time to explain to a non-believing public that the debt is nothing more than every untaxed dollar in existence since the dawn of time. A politician doesn't have time to overcome your objections and explain to you the nuances of sectoral balances. They just don't. So they go with the common narrative that we the people believe. You want to change your politician? you got to have a better class of voter. And that's up to us. Each one teach one. So I'm hoping that as we go through this, that we all start realizing that each of these elections, as important as they may appear, it's more important that we learn. Each one teach one. Learn MMT. Have a great night, everyone.